Right now, you are almost certainly balanced on two legs, or you were a moment ago, and you gave it exactly no thought at all. You stood up, you walked to the fridge, you carried a cup of coffee in one hand and your phone in the other, and your body handled the entire absurd physics problem in the background. Now, look at every other ape alive today. The chimpanzee, the gorilla, the orangutan, the bonobo. Not one of them walks the way you do. They knuckle walk, they climb, they shuffle upright for a few steps and then drop back down onto all fours. You are the only ape on Earth that made standing up permanent. So here's the question nobody stops to ask because it feels too obvious to be interesting. Why? Why did one branch of the ape family stand up and never sit back down, while every other branch stayed exactly where it was? And the answer most people carry around in their heads is almost completely wrong. The story you were probably told goes like this. Our ancestors stood up so they could see over the tall grass of the African savanna, spot predators, and free their hands. Clean, simple, satisfying. It is also, on the evidence, backwards. Because when we actually dig up the earliest bipedal ancestors, they were not living on open grassland at all. Sahelanthropus dated to around 7 million years ago, and Ardipithecus, at roughly 4.5 million, both show signs of walking upright. And both were living in woodland, near trees, in a mosaic of forest and clearing. The savanna the whole story depends on had not even fully spread yet. The grass came later. The upright walking came first, which means the tall grass explanation is describing a landscape that arrived after the trait it is supposed to explain. So if it wasn't about seeing over the grass, what was it about? Start with your own body, because your body is the crime scene, and it is covered in evidence. Look at your spine. It curves in a gentle S shape that stacks your skull directly over your hips, so your head balances on top of the whole structure like a book on a broomstick. A chimpanzee's spine does no such thing. Look at your pelvis. It is short, broad, and bowl-shaped, cradling your organs from below and anchoring the muscles that keep you from toppling sideways with every single step you take. Then look down. Your big toe sits in line with the others, pointing forward, built to push off the ground. An ape's big toe sticks out sideways like a thumb, built to grip branches. Your femurs angle inward from hip to knee, driving your feet under your center of mass so you don't waddle. And you have arches in your feet, springs made of bone and tendon that store energy and hand it back with every stride. None of this is accidental. Every one of these features is a redesign, top to bottom, of an animal that used to move on four limbs. And here's the part that reframes everything. That redesign was not free. It was one of the worst trades in the history of the primate body. To stand upright, we narrowed the pelvis, and a narrow pelvis means a narrower birth canal, which is a large reason human childbirth is so dangerous and so agonizing compared to almost every other mammal. We stacked our weight onto a spine that never fully agreed to the arrangement, which is why an estimated 8 in 10 of you will suffer serious back pain at some point in your life. We traded speed and stability for something. The question is, what? What we bought was efficiency, and efficiency over millions of years is worth more than speed. A chimpanzee moving on all fours burns roughly 4 times as much energy to cover the same distance as a human walking upright. 4 times. That is not a rounding error. That is the difference between a body that runs out of fuel by midday and a body that can keep moving, calmly, all day long. Upright walking is slow, but it is astonishingly cheap. And in a drying, patchy landscape where food was scattered farther and farther apart, the ape that could travel the most ground on the fewest calories was the ape that ate. And now those freed hands finally matter, but not the way the myth claimed. Our ancestors did not stand up in order to free their hands. They stood up to save energy, and freed hands were the bonus, the unearned gift that fell out of the deal. Hands that were no longer needed for walking could carry food back to others, carry infants, carry water, and eventually carry, shape, and throw stone tools. The upright body came first. The tool making, the carrying, the sharing that would define our entire species, all of it grew out of a posture we adopted for a completely different reason. This is how evolution actually works, and it is worth sitting with, because it is nothing like the tidy story we tell. Nothing decided we should walk upright so we could build a civilization. There was no plan, no goal, no grass to see over. There was only an ape in a changing forest, standing a little more often than its cousins, saving a few calories, surviving a little longer, leaving a few more offspring. Repeat that across millions of years, and you get a spine that aches, a birth that endangers, and a hand that changed the world. The cost was written into your body. So was the payoff. So the next time your back complains at the end of a long day, remember what you are actually feeling. You are feeling 7 million years of compromise, a trade your ancestors made in a forest that no longer exists, for a body that could go the distance. You are the only ape that stood up and stayed up, and you have been paying for it and profiting from it ever since. If you want the rest of the story of the bodies you inherited, this is what we do here at The First People. Stay with us.